Hi, holiday kiddos. Do you remember a long time ago when we came and looked at this wreath? That's our friend's house, and there were bird eggs in there. Guess what? There's a little bird in there right now, and there's some other ones that hatched just a couple of days ago. We're going to show you in a video. Can you see that tiny, tiny one? Aww. He's just little, like a peanut. Just tiny. We're just going to tape him for a minute before his mom gets sad.
He's breathing. You can see him breathing, but he's sleeping.
Oh my gosh, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Are they rabbits or chickadees? Hi, holiday preschoolers. Do you remember a long time ago, like 2 weeks ago, we made a video of some baby bird eggs that were in a wreath on our friend's front door. And she called my husband today and said that the birds were starting to pop out of their nest. And so we went over there tonight so that we could see. And if you watch the video really carefully, right at the end you can see one that's on the right side pushes his little egg open with his feet. It cracked right in the middle and he was trying to get out. I think you can see three or four birds that are in the nest, and they're so cute and so tiny. They're only about as big as a peanut, 2 peanuts in a shell. They're so cute and so tiny and just have little teeny bits of feathers. So after I read this book to you about, it's a silly book about an egg, and after I read that, you should go back and watch the video one more time so you can see the littlest bird pop out of his nest, or pop out of his egg in the nest. Okay? This book was written by the same man named P.D. Eastman that wrote our other book about the very best nest. Do you remember when we read that one? But this book is a silly book. Here we go. An egg laid in a path. A boy came down the path. He saw the egg and he looked around and he saw flamingos and turtles and alligators. "Whose egg is this?" he said, but nobody answered. The boy looked up and he saw an empty nest in the tree. "Well, here's an egg without a nest," he said, "and there is a nest without an egg." The little boy climbed the tree and he put the egg in the nest, and then he hopped down and walked away. Mr. and Mrs. Bird came home and they were surprised to find a huge egg in their nest. "That's not our egg," said Mrs. Bird. "Look how big it is." "But it is an egg, and it is our nest," said Mr. Bird. "If an egg is in your nest and you sit on it and keep it warm, it doesn't matter whose egg it is." "All right," said Mrs. Bird, "but I wonder what kind of bird will come out of that big egg." They took turns keeping the egg warm. First Mrs. Bird sat on it, and then Mr. Bird sat on it, and then sometimes, because it was so big, they both sat on it. One day Mrs. Bird heard a squeaking noise. "The egg is squeaking," she said. "Squeak, squeak, 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 squeak." The bird came back to the nest. Mr. Bird, he listened to the egg. "The egg is not squeaking," he said. "It's our baby that's squeaking. He's ready to come out of the egg." Mr. and Mrs. Bird waited. Squeak, 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 squeak. The egg started to crack. Squeak, scratch, crackle, and then it cracked some more. There was the baby. Mr. Bird was very excited. "It's Junior," he said. "What a beautiful baby." Junior opened his mouth. It was a big mouth. It was full of teeth. "That is the funniest looking bird I ever saw," said Mrs. Bird. "I don't think he's our baby at all." "He's in our nest, so he must be ours," said Mr. Bird. "His mouth is open. That means he's hungry, and your baby is hungry. You feed him." Mr. and Mrs. Bird went away to get food for Junior. Mr. Bird brought a pink worm, and Mrs. Bird brought a green one. Junior ate both worms in one gulp, and then he opened his mouth wide again. "We have to get Junior more to eat," said Mr. and Mrs. Bird. Hour after hour, day after day, they brought food for Junior. berries, cherries, butterflies, caterpillars, dragonflies, mosquitoes. She got ladybugs and tiger beetles. Mr. Bird got crickets and spiders. He got grasshoppers and snails and red ants and black ants, and he got centipedes too. "What kind of bird eats so much?" said Mrs. Bird. "It doesn't matter," said Mr. Bird. "He's still hungry and we have to feed him." Weeks went by and Junior never stopped eating, and he never stopped growing. He grew bigger and bigger and bigger. Finally, Junior got so big that Mr. Bird said, "It's too crowded up here. Junior has to leave the nest. It's time for him to fly away." "You're right," said Mrs. Bird. "The time has come. We must show him how to fly." Mr. Bird pushed and pushed. Mrs. Bird pushed and pushed. Mr. Bird showed Junior how to fly. "Jump in the air like this," he said, "then flap your wings." Junior got ready. He took a big breath and jumped up, up, up into the air and went, "Flap your wings," said Mrs. Bird. "Flap your wings," said Mr. Bird. Junior flapped and flapped, but it didn't do any good. He didn't have any wings. Down, down, down went Junior, splashed down into the water. It was cool and wet in the water. It felt just right for Junior. "You know," said Mrs. Bird, "I don't think Junior was a bird at all." "It doesn't matter," said Mr. Bird. "He's happy now, and just look at him swim." Was that a silly book? I love it. I hope you guys will watch the video so that you can see that last little bird pop out of his egg, and that you'll go watch it because it's springtime and there's lots of birds. We have lots of birds in our yard that are coming and eating seeds and getting all ready for the summertime, and there's lots of baby animals at the Wheeler Farm, and all those things happen in the spring. So you go watch it because you're really lucky to watch one that's a real bird all by yourself. Thank you.